real quick, Johnny, if you get a chance, can you pull up that video of my interview with that Elizabeth Warren support? By the way, this woman, Allison, was very sweet. She was very polite. We had an interview about Elizabeth Warren, and I asked her about the plans, and you'll probably notice a pattern here. Run that video, Johnny.
They're on message,
Hi, my name is Niko. Thanks for tuning in to this segment of Mika Says Su Casa. And I have with me Allison. Allison is a volunteer for the Elizabeth Warren campaign. And we're going to talk to her today about some of the things that Elizabeth Warren's proposed and what she would like to see come out of an Elizabeth Warren presidency. How are you doing, Allison?
I'm doing great, thanks, Niko.
So there has been this, explosion of Elizabeth Warren as of late, and a lot of it has to do with these plans that she has offered. She got a plan for it. So can you give me a couple of examples of some of the plans that she plans on introducing?
Yes. So she's got a plan for a lot of things, but the thing I think is the most resonant with us in our current culture and our current economic society is that she wants to tax the ultra rich. So it's not like taxing the middle class, it's not taxing like the rich. It's people who make over $50 million. So for those people who make over $50 million, she wants to tax them 2 cents on every dollar after $50 million. And with that amount of money, she is able to afford to fund universal preschool, 0 to 5, or universal childcare, different than preschool. Preschool, 3 to 5. I'm a preschool teacher, so that's why I care about it. Yes. So preschool from 3 to 5 universally, right? So that's like the first part. Second, loan debt forgiveness for all public colleges and universities in the United States. So that's like the amount of money we're talking about. It affects about 75,000 families is all. So that's the kind of wealth concentration that we're talking about in our United States right now. And the thing I love about Elizabeth is that she sees that it's a structural problem. It's not like little tiny bits of legislation are going to change this or change that. It's that wealth is concentrated so highly in a few people's hands, and that once that wealth is concentrated, so is influence. So when we start trying to make little changes, they are small changes. They're cosmetic. They're not acknowledging that Chevron, which is in Richmond, is contributing to a huge amount of asthma rates in the Richmond public schools, right? So we can talk about eco-justice and so forth. So that's the kind of big change that Elizabeth is talking about. And the thing that she's doing is the more she talks, people like her, which is awesome.
So playing devil's advocate, right? So I'm a big policy guy too, right? And Elizabeth Warren has been in the Senate for quite some time. Now, a lot of things that people would, no. She's been in the Senate for, this is the second term. So, and at one point, she was even in the Senate while the Democrats had control. And so, an argument that you often hear is, why hasn't she introduced these policies sooner?
Well, so one thing is...
And the reason, so I want to put context, because for example, Bernie Sanders says he has a lot of plans too. And there's legislation for it, and a lot of it Warren has worked with. And
Warren ended up in the Senate after creating the Consumer Protection Financial Bureau. So she created what I think is one of the biggest consumer protection groups that we've had after the fallout of 2008, that we've had in half a century. And so that's what her big proposal was. And she created that. It's been completely destabilized under Trump, obviously, but that was her idea. That was her baby. And she created that to protect financial consumers like me and you, all the people who were getting screwed by people like Wells Fargo who were taking out second, third mortgages on their homes. So that was her big thing. So you can't make big policy changes when you've got the filibuster, right? And when all of a sudden you've got Trump in there, right? And you don't control the House.
We
can debate the history of the last 8 years when she was in the Senate. But I would argue, if we're going to talk about Bernie versus Elizabeth's history, right? Elizabeth has done things. She set up anytime someone set up a federal financial bureau, anyone who's done something on a federal level that has been that effective, right? She knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
So for that.
So, which you can't really argue that the Consumer Protection Bureau is a big deal. It really is, and that's something she should be championing because it is a big deal. But the argument would be that I've heard, right? Because I do commentary as well, and also I'm in the political strategizing world. They always say, well, we get it because the filibuster is real. However, introducing legislation to let people know that you're serious about what you're talking about is also a big part of proving to people, because let's be honest, there is this contingent of left-leaning progressive wing that she will absolutely need to win this election, that sees her as a person who flops if she is challenged too hard. So what would you say to those who believe that they would like to see something concrete while she's still in the Senate right now?
Part of the problem, Niko, is like any bill that addresses budget and funding has to originate in the House, right? So, we can talk about like that part of how legislation happens. She can't introduce a bill that taxes the ultra wealthy in the Senate. She just it's against Senate rules for her to do that.
But she can work with people in the House.
Okay, the House has got its own ball of wax, right? And it's only in the last year and a half that we've had Nancy back in. So I'm not going to argue apples and oranges with Bernie about who's done what and who's I'm going to argue that
I just use it for context because he's done like equitably, like they're the ones who have had the most legislative experience. So
and I would
they've both done a lot, but they have like the same man. The rent is too damn high. Just in case you're wondering, rent is too damn high. So, so the last question I would have for you then is that it's amazing that Elizabeth Warren has decided not to take any corporate money during the primary. But a lot of people have gripes with her not taking or saying openly that she wants to take corporate money during the general election. Do you feel like that can hinder her? Do you think like that can hamper her? Do you feel like it'll help her? Do you think it's a good strategy? And how do you personally feel?
I have no idea. It's an interesting question, right? And it's also an interesting question what groups are going to run parallel Citizens United type ads on her behalf if she wins the primary, right? Those are all hypothetical questions. I think right now for where she is and what she stands for, we know who her money comes from. It comes from recurring donations from small donors like myself. I donate $22 a month, right? Like it is tiny. It is very specific for a very weird reason, but that's the kind of donations that she's getting. And if you look around, these are all you were looking for a campaign person, but you've got volunteers who are knowledgeable, who have spent the last 2 days, right, in the Oakland Town Hall. I am exhausted. I've just passed out about 1,000 stickers, and I can still talk about her policies, right? And that's the kind of people she's attracting. And so, we talk about money, but we also talk about the people who are going to do the get out the vote, right? And I remember I can't wait for her to win the nomination and to see where we go.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks. So you can text, volunteer, or organize to 24477 and go to.
We don't need to plug Elizabeth Warren right there and stuff like that. And I'm just going to say this really briefly, hand this over to you because I know you guys are fired up. And Fee has been kind of pointing at Elizabeth Warren, so we got to get on this right now and stuff because we know who she is. When she refused to, endorse Bernie Sanders on through many things, but. This is California. She is from Massachusetts. Her team was on message. From the time listen, this is important, bro, because they're organized. From the time we pulled up and we rolled down those windows, Niko, we yelled out the car. Why Elizabeth Warren? Everybody together in unison. She has a plan. So, we got to get on this really quick. They were organized, and there's a reason why the delegates were impressed with Elizabeth Warren in California from Massachusetts.
You know my theory about it. I think it's honestly like it's just the upswelling of the Hillary support. Because I've theorized that they really did want Warren. The thing was Warren knew better than to run against Hillary because she would not have the career she has right now, like at all, if she did, because that's what Hillary does. Look at all the other candidates except for Bernie. They're crush. Even O'Malley at this point, if he wanted to run again, he could never do it. So. But I think it's important to acknowledge some of the problems with some of the things she said in this video. Did she really, she really just said, Warren has actually gotten things done.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess Bernie is known as the amendment, jester or something? Is he the amendment midget? What is he known as? I thought it's the amendment king.
Amendment guy.
The amendment
guy.
The
amendments.
Amendment kind of gets some stuff done sometimes, guy. He's the amendment king, right? That's what I thought, right?
Yep.
Amendment king.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Who can work with both sides of the house in the Senate when necessary? Because she says, well, she can't do things like, that it's against the rules to do it in the Senate, because Bernie has been able to work with the House to get things done bipartisan, like the Yemen bill and the Bezos Act. Yeah. That's why, and the reason I bring this up is because, and I use Bernie instead of Tulsi specifically for this reason. If they want to go ahead and use the argument that, Tulsi is an outsider, cool, whatever. But these are the people who would otherwise likely probably be voting for Bernie because she's using the logic, even though it's not really sound logic, that Warren is policy, policy, policy. But she named the one policy about pre-K, which is cool. Problem is, Warren's still a senator, right? She's Senator Warren. Did Bernie just introduce Medicare for all again? No. Right, in the Senate? He just reintroduced it, right? Yeah.
Did he?
Yeah, he did. Warren actually backed it. They all came out and backed it this time.
It.
Recently.
Even
Is there a number on that bill or something? I forgot.
There is. I can't remember what the number is.
Right.
But he did. It was a big deal because, I mean, we knew it wasn't going to get passed, but I don't have to question what the legislation is going to look like when he becomes president or if he becomes president. It's there already. The framework is set up.
Yeah.
All we have to do is boom. It's right there. And if there's anything to be hammered out, we can hammer it out now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, okay, he introduced the Yemen bill. They're in the same Senate, right?
Yeah.
Same term. He introduced the Yemen bill, correct?
Yep.
Okay. While he was sitting, okay, and he's still running for president. Okay.
Yeah. That was recently.
Bezosak. No, he couldn't introduce the House's version of it himself, but he did reach out to Roe and have him introduce the bill simultaneously, right? In the House. And that got passed, right? It got passed in the House?
Yes, in the House.
And in the Senate?
No.
It didn't get passed in the Senate?
No.
I thought the Bezosak passed.
The Bezos Act, yes.
Yes, the Bezosak did.
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
So the Bezosak, because Bernie doesn't get things done. See, this consumer protection thing that she keeps focusing on, which is bothersome because people do point to this and they say she's progressive on finance. What tangible results has she ever gotten from the consumer protection? Like, didn't Bernie, again, and AOC, have to just introduce legislation to cap interest rates at 15%?
Yep.
So if you ain't doing that as a consumer protection bureau, what the hell is you doing?
I know.
I'm just trying to understand this. And this is the fallacy of logic. And at the end of the day, no matter what, and I'm going to let Fee take it from here, but at the end of the day, no matter what, if you got a plan for everything, where the plans at? Listen, everybody gets high at some point, pull out their iPhone, start writing down cool idea names in their iPhone notes. Like, man, I'm going to come back to this later because this sounds so... Everything sounds like a good idea when you're looking at your iPhone high. Liz, we know, okay? We get it. We got it. Cool. But the problem is there's a difference between those jotting down notes in their iPhone and those putting in the work, traveling the country to figure out what needs to get done. Because last time I checked, it was Bernie standing with the Disney workers.
Yep.
Whereas this woman seems to be confused that Bernie isn't doing anything.
And UCLA, the people that were working at UCLA, the unions,
teachers,
he was
the
standing with
staff,
those
Yeah.
the teachers,
And
marching
nurses.
with them, picket lines.
And then it was Tulsi who was at Standing Rock. It was Tulsi who has been introducing literally legislation nonstop since her term has started. And by the way, her term is actually shorter than Liz's, technically, because she's a congresswoman. And she's gotten more things introduced because Tulsi does have plans as well. And Warren seems to believe, and her supporters seem to believe, she's the only one with the plan. The problem is Bernie and Tulsi have plans. They're better plans, and we don't have to question whether or not once money gets introduced that those plans will be halted before they ever see the floor of any House or any Senate. But go ahead.
It's one of those ideas, again, that they're using the whole Warren's a woman. It's her time. It's the same kind of ideas that were behind Hillary Clinton, but now they're just tokenizing people of color again, and they're using Bernie Sanders' entire platform. Like Warren's thing on education, I would absolutely love student loan forgiveness. Why don't we introduce legislation to do it right now? Because, hey, that might change my mind. And every single time I wanted to give her another chance, she let me down. I was pushing for her, and then green militarism, the whole dropping bombs, and that's the legislation that she introduced. That is what the resolution she was pushing. It was about how to make our military compatible with a cleaner environment, which literally makes zero sense.
But
There
Tulsi's
is
a
no
hawk.
Sense on
She's
that.
a hawk on terrorism, Fee. That's a problem.
Tulsi is introducing the Offshore Act, while Elizabeth Warren is telling us that we
Not
need to go
offshore,
to
not
war.
offshore, off act,
Yeah.
not off fossil fuel.
Sorry, off.
We ain't trying to hide nobody's money, people.
No, yeah, off act. Yes, you're right. I was confusing it with another thing going on in Aliso Viejo, but
I don't know.
this is exactly it. This is the difference between Tulsi and Warren, because Tulsi has legislation that she's willing to push. She has the receipts, whereas Warren, where is it?
Yeah, but I'm just saying it's kind of a good idea, fam. What about solar-powered tanks? I mean, we can do it, right? You just can't attack at nights or something like that.
Biodegradable bombs.
Biodiesel bombs, right?
That's
It's
true.
gonna be, you know what I'm saying? So when it blows up, it was blown up with biodiesel fuel.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? That's
we don't gotta
something
worry about
to think
the caps falling
Yeah.
into the water.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and the fish is getting caught in the caps because the
These
fish
are
will
good
all be
ideas.
dead probably. But you know,
Yeah.
maybe just maybe, and this might be a far shot, that Warren hasn't introduced legislation for the same reason that she plans on taking money in the general election.
Of course.
And maybe, just maybe,
Yes.
that these people, I don't think this woman knew this, by the way, and that's why she was so caught off guard. When I asked her, I said, so what do you think about her taking money in the general election? Well, I don't know. We could talk hypotheticals. No. This is not a hypothetical question. She said, oh, no, I believe, we should have all hands on deck. Yeah, we got to defeat the Republicans. Yeah, okay, yeah, take everything. Throw it all my way. So, question, real quick. If she's taking the same money as Trump and the Republicans,
Yes.
how is she going to be different than Trump and the Republicans?
Because Trump.
Because
Trump.
Okay, yeah.
Because Trump. And the whole thing is like, I'm sick and tired of these good ideas with no policy behind it. Oh, it's a great idea and stuff like that. And on top of things, why aren't progressives holding Elizabeth Warren accountable for these statements with the green bonds, her support of regime change in Venezuela? Yeah. I mean, she's just been god awful at foreign policy. And like my boy Johnny said, foreign policy matters.
Foreign policy matters.
Matters so much. It affects everything domestically. And that's what people don't get.
Including climate change.
Yes.
The moment you put
Including
foreign
immigration.
policy at rest, you're done. And by the way, there are a lot of people right now who are pushing Warren and saying, oh, I like Bernie, but Warren is doing really great. And that's one of the things we need to discuss. Because some of us have this idea that Bernie needs to choose a VP that is to the right of him, that he needs to choose a Kamala Harris or someone to the right like Warren, because that's going to get the centrist vote. Did you all forget that the rest of America, the majority of them are independent, that Donald Trump won?
Mm-hmm. And those are the official independents, the official ones. The people
Warren
that are still registered because they're in California, Florida, New York, and they're in close primary states. Like, there are more than what people believe. Warren can't win any of them.
Yeah.
No, Warren's not going to win them over, and that's the thing. And they act like they only are inside their echo chambers. These people, when we were going to CADEM, like they think like they exist, that the universe revolves around them, that they are the sun. The reality is that the rest of America, you go and talk to someone, they're like, well, you know, Elizabeth Warren is a typical establishment politician. They do not see her as someone that they could potentially vote for. Tulsi, on the other hand, she turns Republicans. She turns Republicans into voting for her.
Instantly.
She motivates people because she's policy based and she doesn't use certain labels. And I think that's interesting because if I'm looking at her policy, it's leftist as hell.
Yeah.
But so I don't really care what she calls it.
Or what we also know is common sense. And that's why I think she doesn't see, like, Tulsi obviously does not like labels, but the reason that it was important to address when Anna said, well, Tulsi's not a progressive, because we know what she was trying to do. She was trying to malign Tulsi and basically say, well, if she's not progressive, then she's a neocon. Is basically what she was trying to allege. And so that's important. But I agree. Tulsi is very good at making sure that we don't ever get caught up on labels, and she always brings it back to policy. She doesn't. The only time she attacks Trump is when Trump is trying to go to war, and that's the only time he needs to be attacked. All that other extra nonsense about the porn stars, and I don't know if you've ever looked in the history of presidents. You better look up JFK and Marilyn Monroe, and I mean the list really does go on with all these presidents. Yeah, guess what? Presidents are rich, old, white, elite males. They do stupid things, and they're pigs. Okay, move next story. Thank you. They're racist too. Okay, next story. Thank you. But I will say this, and I want to let Fee close as well with just what you think needs to be done about Warren and how we need to address this. But I want to say, just as a veteran, you cannot, in your right mind, talk about going to war with Venezuela. You got getting caught on tape talking about putting military options on the table for Iran. Going to write an entire Medium article trying to strengthen the military. We already know what that means. To combat climate change. And you don't even have the audacity to say this in front of the Veterans Caucus. You can't make these plans in front of the Veterans Caucus. Mm-hmm. You're so bold on Twitter. You're so bold on that stage, but you couldn't even attend the Veterans Caucus to convince veterans maybe maybe her plan was require a little bit more nuance, and that would have been the best place to hear it. So people can ask her, well, what about this, and have her give her a fair opportunity, which I always believe in, to respond and address the criticisms of biodegradable bombs. But you are advocating to send more of my brothers and sisters in arms to once again die, because that's likely what will happen. If they don't die, they'll be scarred from looking at the death of other innocent people abroad. And you can't even have the audacity to tell them to the face why you want to send them to die? Really? That is a coward. That is not a president. And that is damn sure not a commander-in-chief. Anybody who supports that, because there are people who support it but acknowledge, she's weak on foreign policy, it's a problem, and they get that, and so they're saying like she's not as bad as Biden, she's not as bad as, so cool, got that. At least you acknowledge that she's not going. But there are people who are basically like, that doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's terrible.
And once again, that is the problem with many Americans. All of a sudden, Flint, Michigan, when people start realizing how many other water sources in this country are polluted, all of a sudden y'all gonna start caring.
Yep.
Because it is other water sources in this country that are very polluted, and you just don't know. Southern California, y'all are finding out more and more as your cancer rates are raising. Y'all have no idea. So is this how we're going to continue to vote? Is this how we're going to continue to advocate? We're going to advocate for those who paint pretty lies. And because basically, I'm not going to go overseas. I'm not going to join the military. I'm not Muslim. I'm not a person of color from another country where their government's trying to stand up for them, and therefore the United States thinks that it's the smart thing to do to go in and destroy them. They're not Syrian. They're not Iraqi. They're not from Afghanistan. They've never been a victim, nor would they ever be, because of whatever privilege they may have, a victim of these regime change policies and its military interventionism, the advocacy for it. They will never be a victim for it. But is that how we're going to continue to try and vote and convince others to vote? Fuck the people who can't speak for themselves. I'm only worried about those who look like me, who care about the same things I do, and I'm going to worry about myself and what I want. Because at the end of the day, it's what it looks like. It looks like people don't give a damn about the people who don't have a voice for themselves. And guess what? Karma is real. And we're feeling it every single day in the States, that we are apathetic towards the realities of those who can't speak up for themselves. And in my humble opinion, Anna Kasparian has lost all of her progressive credit. You could say, what about 2016? 2016 was clearly an anomaly at this point. She's advocated for regime change in Venezuela. I saw the video.
The Hill put it. Yeah, we have. If you go to the Convo Couch YouTube, we have a Venezuela video, and in there, that was the most disappointing one, Niko, was the fact that Elizabeth Warren said, we can't put our troops on the ground, but we got to join the international community, which is code for our fucking friends, and support the people of Venezuela, which is the actual opposition and the paid CIA actives, and support regime change in Venezuela and Juan Guaido. And I was just so...
She was one of the first ones to support for Juan Guaido. One of the first ones.
Not before Adam Schiff.
Always. Never before Adam Schiff. Never.
And I know you wanted to hand it over to Fiorella
to
finish it off, but I just want to say that after this, Niko, and what you just said right there, I just had a moment when I've always said that I'll definitely vote for Bernie and Tulsi. I'll consider if Elizabeth Warren or Andrew Yang, I said, win the nomination, I would vote for them. I never vote for Beto, Biden, or Kamala Harris. But now I think I'm going to change my stance about maybe being a never Warren person, because simply she wasn't there in front of the people. She didn't do what Bernie did and Tulsi did and walk those caucuses, didn't walk through the crowd of people, and she avoided tough questions. She avoided independent media. So just passing it on to Fee and Fam.
Even Ro Khanna, at least, he's been pushing the Russiagate nonsense, but you know what? At least he had the balls to stand in front of the Veterans Caucus and stand behind his nonsense. Yeah. It's still nonsense nonetheless, but at least, I got a little bit more respect for him. Warren ran. Yeah. At least Amy Klobuchar, the nonsense she said about putting the military options on the table, at least she said it in front of the Veterans Caucus.
Even Delaney.
He's stupid as hell, but at least he had the balls to say it in front of the Veterans Caucus. Buttigieg was not there.
No Warren.
No. Warren was not there.
No Biden either.
No, Biden went nowhere. Actually, we did find out he was telling some other little girl that she was pretty. like a weirdo. This man is done. So, Fee, take it away for us, please.
I just want you all to realize what's happening internationally as far as what we're seeing. So all of you saying that Bernie needs to pick someone to his right. Look what's happening nationally. Nationally, we're seeing Marie Le Pen, which is an alt-right fascist party, right? She's winning. Then we're also seeing the leftist people, the Green Party in Germany, won in huge amounts. We're seeing this all over the world, and we're also seeing it here. We saw it in 2018 with the certain onslaught of progressives that won, like Ocasio-Cortez's, Rashida Tlaib's, Ilhan Omar's, all of these people. Did they punch right? No. They continuously punched left, and not only left, they were talking about policies. They were talking about how they're going to help the working people. They were strongly anti-war, focused domestically on the economy and how we help those who are most vulnerable. You're not going to win.
But I want to tell you how real that is. The Republicans were literally begging for their attention, having to go after them because they were so focused on holding their own party accountable that the Republicans were not wanted some of the attention from that they were getting from that.
So you're not going to see a centrist win or even someone to the right of Bernie. What you're seeing is a momentum of people being extremely excited when they punch left. When Bernie started talking about freedom of speech, when he started talking about, I'm not going to apologize for not voting for the war in Iraq, all of this, when he was pushing no war in Iran, people were like, holy shit, Bernie, where have you been? We've missed you. Like, this is the Bernie that, like, we remember. This is the Bernie that's not catering to centrists. And if the Bernie campaign thinks that they're going to win by pushing for the centrists and trying to get their votes, no, that's just not going to happen. The rest of the rest of this country is either going to choose fascist nationalism or a social driven working class revolution. There is no middle ground. And Bernie himself said it too. There is just no room for that. It's not going to happen.
We'll dub in a bomb over there. Niko House, do it out, man. We gotta get some vegan food.
Yeah, we gotta get some vegan food.
Vegan food.
I know Toasty probably watching this like, yeah, you better get some vegan food. Leave them cows alone, man. Toasty just shut my whole dream down by my lunch, but it's cool. I knew I was gonna get bamboozled though. I did. I know I was gonna get. I knew she was gonna get me. I thought it was gonna be a catch. Watch. So with that being said, people, listen, Anna, you can come over to the crib, dog. You can come chill with us, hang out. Look, I'm not a hateful person. I really am not. I'm a very nice person. I am more than willing to have conversations with people I disagree with. I am. I really am. I had plenty of them this weekend, and you need to come to the MCSC network, hang out, and find your balance. Because clearly you ain't got none. Clearly. You really, if there was any definition of being out of balance, you is it. That video was the definition of not having your balance. Yep. So let me just leave by saying that if you are not an ally of the movement, just say that. Stop pretending to care about progressivism in 1/3 of your videos and then caring about the military-industrial complex and then advocating for Venezuela and then advocating for people like Warren while simultaneously attacking the Tulsi Gabbards of the world. Like, just do us a favor. Like, hey, at least you can own up to it. Like I said, I got more respect for someone who's going to own up to their neoliberalism than someone who's going to hide behind our label, trying to infiltrate and corrupt our movement, and then try and act as an authority on issues you clearly have no clue about. And so with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for tuning into this segment of Progressive Primetime. I'm your host, Niko House. This is Fiorella Impasta. Make sure you subscribe to the Convo Couch because there's going to be a lot of clips from the convention there. Make sure you are still subscribed here because you probably might not be. And remember, more than anything else, find your balance. Peace.